A new report of a dealership, in fact, a Kia dealership being fined $1.3 million US for deceptive practices and basically tricking people who make a low income into getting massive loans they can't afford, shows evidence of a serious problem in the United States. The reason being, this aligns with a huge increase in vehicles being repossessed due to buyers not being able to afford the loan. This is happening right now all across the United States. And it's actually a big problem, especially for Ford. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you. Welcome to all the new subscribers. Welcome back, everyone else. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing, and big thank you to our Patreon supporters and also our YouTube members. Couldn't do it without you. By the way, if you want to join our Facebook group, I'll put a link in the description below. A Kia dealer has been ordered to pay $1.25 million US in deceptive practices settlement. Dan O'Brien Kia of Concord, NH, must pay $1.25 million US to the New Hampshire Attorney General to resolve allegations of unfair and deceptive practices at the dealership. Now, this dealership has to pay nearly $1.3 million US to the New Hampshire Attorney General because it's been, well, doing dodgy stuff. But the issue here is what they're doing, and what I'm about to share with you, unfortunately, has been done by many dealers from many brands all over the US. And why do I believe this will hurt Ford more? I'll tell you why in a minute. The settlement requires Dan O'Brien Kia to comply with a series of strict injunctive terms over the next 5 years to ensure consumers are protected from similar practices in the future, according to the New Hampshire Department of Justice's December 19 written release. These terms include reimburse the Attorney General $50,000 US in legal costs, hire an independent compliance monitor to review and report on its business practices for the next 5 years, record audio and video of financing discussions between employees and customers. In other words, they want more evidence. So in the future, they can, sue these companies, sue these dealerships, rather than actually have to try and do the investigation themselves. Pay restitution to 2 consumers who are victims of the deceptive practices. Implement staff training programs to educate them on state consumer protection laws. The Consumer Protection and Antitrust Bureau was investigating Dan O'Brien Kia Concord based on a high volume of consumer complaints filed between 2019 and 2021. The Bureau found dealership employees persuaded consumers into purchasing vehicles they could not afford using deceptive sales practices, falsely inflated consumer income information on loan applications, and forged the signature of customers on loan paperwork. So basically, they tricked people who don't make enough money to pay for the cars they just bought into getting loans they can't afford to repay. According to the Attorney General, the dealership enrolled customers with poor scores in a credit repair or credit rehabilitation effort known as the program. It was a 6-month financing program used when a customer told the dealership they couldn't afford the payment terms. Customers were informed they qualified for the program the Attorney General's office charged, and if they paid their car loan on time for half a year, their credit score would improve and the terms would be refinanced. But it was nothing more than a sales pitch, not affiliated or endorsed by any bank, despite the dealership saying it was. Instead, customers were left with the loans they were unable to pay, meaning they forfeited the car, and then their credit scores were even worse as a result. In addition, Dan O'Brien Kia was inflating the incomes of potential borrowers on their loan applications to increase their approval chances with lenders. If a borrower was denied funding, the dealership would often resubmit their application with a higher monthly income than the customer actually had in order to win approval. The investigation found one instance of a loan document with a forged customer signature. The dealership employee who forged the signature also enrolled the customer in insurance products they previously had refused. In addition to other terms, within 30 days of when the court approved the judgment, which was December the 15th, the dealership must submit the name of a third-party candidate to serve as its independent compliance monitor, said Brendan Garrod, New Hampshire Senior Assistant Attorney General. Once they've selected a candidate, we approve that candidate, Garrod told Automotive News. That monitor will have regular reporting requirements. The monitor will spend time in the dealership investigating and submitting frequent reports to the Attorney General's office. He said Dan O'Brien Kia must allow the monitor to review a set number of deals chosen at random, provide the monitor with requested documents, and make employees available for interviews. All to ensure the dealership is in full compliance and not engaging in any deceptive practices. Dan O'Brien, president of the dealership, was an Automotive News 40 Under 40 award winner in 2018 at age 33. Now, he was praised for massively growing sales within a very short period of time, and you can see why that happened. O'Brien owns Dan O'Brien Kia Northampton as well, also in North Hampshire. In 2018, Automotive News reported that O'Brien recalled throughout his career seeing general managers and principals in offices obscured by tinted windows. He vowed that if he ever got to run a store, he'd never do that. Only his store's finance manager had an office, he said. So why is this a bigger issue than it sounds? Well, subprime crisis in the United States, this is exactly what that was. In fact, it's identical, but it's just for cars. Now, we all know interest rates have gone up massively over the last 12 months, which is going to affect many, many borrowers, many people who have car loans, right? Now, why will it affect Ford more? Well, we don't know for sure that Ford is doing this. I would say it's pretty likely that most dealerships across the US are engaging in these kinds of practices to some degree, right? It's just a matter of whether or not there's enough of it going on for your dealership to get investigated by your attorney general in the state. But the reason this affects Ford more than other customers or more than other brands is because more than half of Ford's current debt is considered good debt because it's loan debt. It's loans. Ford actually has a financing arm which makes usually pretty good profits. And in lean times, its profits can be affected significantly by people defaulting on their loans and their cars having to be repossessed. Now, the value of used cars has gone down every single month for 10 straight months in North America, in particular for the cars Ford sells, which predominantly are gasoline-powered cars. Now, if most of Ford's cars that they'd sold in the last 2 years or the last 3 years had been EVs and Ford was repossessing them, it probably wouldn't really matter because the resale value of those cars would be pretty high. But seeing as they won't be, seeing as in fact over the last 3 years, 98% of cars that Ford sold in North America were actually gasoline powered, this could potentially be a problem for Ford's financing department as a number of customers, or many thousands of customers, begin defaulting on their loans. In fact, loan defaults are at a higher rate now than they have been for many years in the United States. And I reported on that in another video, which I'll put a link to in the description below. Now, let me know your thoughts. Is this a significant problem for Ford and potentially other automakers in the US? Or is this just going to pass? Is this recession going to affect them? I think it might. Let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, my friends, have a great day.